If you are looking to buy a resale HDB, should you go for newly MOP HDB? Or is it better to look for older HDB? That's because while newly MOP HDBs have more lease remaining, it is also more expensive. On the other hand, while older HDBs may be more affordable, their remaining leases are also a lot less.
Later run out of lease, then how?
That's why in this video, we will be looking at various factors such as price, size, remaining lease, and other considerations to see which is a better choice. But before I start, do join my 8,000 members Telegram chat group to discuss or ask any questions that you may have. As mentioned earlier, newly MOP flats are generally more expensive than older HDB flats. This is explained by the Paylah's curve, where it shows that as the remaining lease gets shorter, the property loses its value at a faster rate. For example, a newly MOP flat in Bukit Batok right now would cost around 620k to 680k, with some even crossing the 700k mark. On the other hand, older flats that were being built in the 1980s are only being listed for 440k to 510k.
Wow, these older flats look quite retro, yeah? Like they are from another era.
Though this may not always be the case, as it has been found that there are some estates such as Jurong East and Clementi where the price difference is not as notable as compared to those in the city fringe area. When the property eventually runs out of lease after 99 years, it will then need to be returned back to the government. And just in case you are wondering, the government has already mentioned that not all older HDB flats will be eligible for en bloc. The other downside of buying older HDB flats is that if the remaining lease does not cover the youngest buyer till 95 years old, the amount of CPF funds that you can pay for the house, the amount of housing grants that you will receive, and the housing loan that you are eligible for will all be prorated, meaning you will have to fork out more cash out of pocket to finance the purchase when buying older HDBs. That's why buyers are more attracted to younger flats, as it will get to hold more value while requiring less cash on hand. Besides that, buying a resale flat with a longer lease remaining will also give you a lot more options later on in life. 1. Since the property is still young, it can still get a good resale value if you ever decide to sell it off before the price decay really sets in. And unlike what the Paylah's curve may say, it has been found that HDB flats don't depreciate as quickly as we might think. So by buying a newer property, even if we have lived in the property for 30 to 40 years till our retirement, it will still hold its value quite well. But if it's an older HDB flat where the remaining lease is only 10 to 20 years, then the decay would be higher and you may find it hard to sell the property at a good price. Plus, older flats may also be harder to sell as you are limited to a smaller pool of buyers who may be eligible or keen on an older flat, as they have very specific goals such as a retirement home. Quick pause, finding your dream home is exciting, but let's be honest, securing the right mortgage can be a real headache with its complicated terms and confusing processes. But what if I told you that there's a way to simplify everything? Introducing PropertyGuru Finance, you are probably familiar with PropertyGuru as the go-to platform for finding your dream home. But did you know that they can also help you with everything mortgage related? PropertyGuru Finance is an online mortgage marketplace that automates and simplifies the key stages of your home journey. You will not only be able to find the best mortgage rates in town, but also receive free mortgage consultation and apply for a mortgage fully online from the comforts of your home. To better understand your mortgage and affordability, you can estimate the amount of home loan that you can borrow using the pre-qualification tool that simplifies bank rules and government regulations into an online assessment. You will then receive a pre-qualification report stating the maximum home loan amount that you are eligible for based on your unique financial situation. This report can help you narrow down your property options and even secure faster viewings with agents, as it demonstrates your pre-approved mortgage eligibility. Besides that, you will get to compare the latest rates from 13 major banks in Singapore, while also seeing the monthly installment breakdown and key benefits of each package. And once you are ready, you will be able to apply for an IPA letter online in just a few clicks and continue on with your digital mortgage application. What I really like about PropertyGuru Finance is that they combine the technology together with human wisdom. So if you ever need help, you can talk to their in-house mortgage experts who will give you unbiased, tailored financial advice and help you solve all your mortgage needs. And the best part, all their services and online tools are all free with no hidden fee. So if you are looking for a new home loan or looking to refinance your existing loan or are just curious about your loan eligibility, you can check out PropertyGuru Finance. And with that being said, let's get back to the video. The other benefit of owning newer HDBs is that if you prefer not to sell off the property and choose to continue staying there during your retirement, you may then be eligible for schemes such as the lease buyback scheme, as you are able to unlock some of your flat's value to give you additional income during your retirement years as an old APAT or old AMA. On the other hand, older flats may have an issue qualifying for this scheme, given that in order to be eligible for the lease buyback scheme, there needs to be a minimum of 20 years left on the lease when you turn 65.
So, it's not worth buying older HDB flats there?
Not really. The one benefit of older HDB flats is that they tend to be bigger in size. For example, in the 1980s and 1990s, 4-room flats had a floor area of 100 square meter. Now, the size of 4-room BTO flats are only about 90 square meter, after excluding the aircon latch. In some cases, such as the Ghim Moh and Queensway BTO projects launched in November 2022, the internal floor area is even smaller at 86 square meter.
Alamak, prices go up, but smaller size? What like that?
According to the government, that's because while the overall flat size has decreased, the livable space per person has actually improved due to smaller household sizes nowadays.
Okay, can.
Also, older HDB flats tend to have more different layouts. For example, here are some of the different layouts and designs over the years. Meanwhile, new flats these days come with similar layouts, as BTO projects are manufactured using prefabrication technology, where components are prefabricated and are stacked like Lego blocks to improve efficiency. This means that regardless of the location, the flat layout and internal floor area for younger resale flats are becoming more or less the same. For example, this Tampines Green Court unit from 2017 looks similar to this Ghim Moh unit from 2022 and this Toa Payoh unit from 2022. Besides that, you also won't be able to find mansionettes and executive apartments in newer HDBs nowadays, as HDB have stopped building them since 1995. The other point to consider is the renovations required. Of course, if you are already planning to do a complete makeover to create your dream home, then this doesn't really matter. But if you are buying an older flat that requires a ton of repairs due to wear and tear, you may have to spend more on renovation works, which may cost quite a lot, plus got the 9% GST now. On the other hand, if it's a newer flat where it's in a good condition, you can opt to keep most of the things intact, such as flooring, tiles or carpentry, and just perform minor touch-ups to save a ton of money. Next, if you are purchasing an older flat, your flat may also need to undergo the so-called Home Improvement Program.
What's that?
Basically, older flats may encounter issues over time, such as spilling concrete, ceiling leakage or leaking pipes. So what HIP does is that HDB will help to perform upgrades and repairs to the property, which in turn could help you save on some renovation costs. And while this is not entirely free, HIP is subsidized for up to 95% for Singaporeans, and households only need to pay amounts ranging from $125 to $967, depending on your flat type and selected package. So this may either be a good thing or bad thing depending on how you view it. But the downside is that it may be a bit mafan when the works are ongoing. As you can see, ultimately, it depends on what your needs and situation are when deciding which kind of flat is more suitable for you. So, first and foremost, you should always buy a flat that's within your budget. It's pointless to force yourself to buy a newer and more expensive flat, then end up being unable to pay off the monthly mortgage. Second, you need to understand what your housing goals are. Do you plan to stay just for the short term before upgrading to a condo? Or do you plan to stay for the long term? Because if you are just planning to sell after your MOP, then you should consider the resale value of your home. But if you are planning to stay for the long term, then you may want to look at the remaining lease, as well as the size of your home. Anyway, that was a quick analysis of buying younger or older HDB flats. Hopefully, you found this useful. Like, share and subscribe, as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.